Hey guys, I had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to be showing you some masks I've been making. And I'm already part of the way through when I realized the problem with the camera. So basically, I've been making some of these. They're the pleated mask that has the little pouch in the back for you to insert a filter. It also has a little pouch at the top you can put wire in so that it will fit your nose. And then I've been using elastic. That seems to be requested more than anyone wanting to mess with the ties. So this is the first one I've been making, and I do everything kind of like in an assembly line. So when I'm making several things, I don't just make one mask, put it aside, make another mask and put it aside. I'm going to do all the cutting first, then I'm going to do all the straight seams. Let me turn this one inside out so I can show you what I mean. These are basically huge rectangles that are folded over. Now you can cut two separate sheets like I did on this one. So that the inside's a different color from the outside, but you don't have to. This is one long piece of material, and then I have taken one seam here to close it. I made it a wide seam so that I can then fold that over so there's no raw edges on this seam, and just made straight seams down. After that, I went to the end and I pulled my elastic through and I sewed it all the way down, pulling the other end of the elastic through here. Okay, and I did that on the other end. After that, we just turn them, and that's where I'd gotten to on this one. Once you get them turned, you'll want to have your pins ready. Okay, you find the top, which is right here. You can tell by if you leave the gap toward the top. You can put it anywhere on the back. It doesn't really matter as long as there's a place you can tuck the filter down in. Okay, the next thing that you would do is start pleating. Just grab the material and fold it and pin that. Put another pleat, pin that, and then the third one. Once you get those pinned, let me grab my completed one. You're just going to run a seam all the way down the side to hold those. Now when you wash these, those pleats are going to come out. Alright, but once you get that part done, you want to come up here and sew maybe a 2 or 3 inch little seam across through here. That's going to hold the wire that you put in. What I have found works nice is just a pipe cleaner. I like to do a double thickness. So let's go ahead and cut a pipe cleaner in half. I fold down the little sharp ends and then fold the pipe cleaner in half and twist it. Gives it just a little bit more stability and strength. So once you sew that little seam there, you can go in and tuck it in. That's if you want it to be able to take it out, like when you wash it. I did notice that whenever I put this up inside and then I sewed around it, when I wash it, this tends to want to bunch up because it's still a weak little piece of wire. It's just strong enough to hold the material against your nose for you, but it's not heavy duty wire. And so in the laundry, it is going to cause it to move around and shift and try to bunch up. So I decided from now on when I make them, I'm going to leave the ends open and just have a channel there that you can reach inside and slide the wire in and slide it out when you wash it. Alright, so just a tip there. Once you get that sewn and all your pleats sewn down, you have a completed mask. Remember guys, these masks will not prevent you from getting the virus. A mask is actually more to protect other people from you, but in this case, we don't know who's wearing a mask and who isn't. Do they have it? Do they not? So a mask is better than no protection at all. This is better than nothing. Putting a filter inside is even better. You can buy pre-made filters at Amazon, but honestly, every day when I check it, they've been sold out. The CDC website shows using coffee filters inside a cotton mask. Anything that's not woven, like material is woven, so particles are going to get through that. You want something bonded instead of woven. One physician put out a video where his wife was using HEPA vacuum cleaner bags because the HEPA bags go through a process for allergies. You know, they're supposed to block a lot of particles. So he was very impressed with this bag that she was making masks out of. So what I did, and they're still on back order, was order some bags. And I can't remember the percentage it was rated. It was high. It was in the 90s. But what I was going to do was cut those to fit the mask. And that way we could throw those away, wash the mask, and sanitize these. So this is the most basic, the quickest if you're wanting to make them for your church, your community, you know, the hospital. This is going to be the fastest one to make. Now, if you wanted to put ties in, it's the same concept of the elastic. Or if you want to put ties, what you can do is sew a channel down the side and just run the string through it. And then and tie knots in the string so that it doesn't slide out when you wash it. But this is the basic one. Like this, I'm going to lay this aside because we're making another one as well. I saw that this was actually requested by someone, and so I have made a few of these. But this would be something that takes a little bit longer. It is more like a cup fitted to your face, and but you're going to cut the outer shell, the channel for the wire to go in, as well as your lining. And I will show you those on one I haven't sewn together yet. Okay, so you're going to have two pieces of your main fabric, your outer fabric. I'm trying to get as many as I can, so I wasn't worried about this because this is going to be turned under anyway and not seen. That's the inside of the mask. So I left that just to get that little bit more fabric. And then you're going to need the lining. You can do them the same. I just like to have coordinating fabrics instead. Your lining is going to be just a little bit smaller, as you can see here. And then you're going to have just a piece of material that you'll cut so that you can form the channel for the wire to go through. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do, put your right sides together. And you're going to sew this right down through here on the lining and on the main piece. Here's the one I was working on when I realized the camera wasn't working. Okay, so you can see I sewed it and then I cut it all the way down. You don't go down or all the way down the length of the stitch, but you don't go down to the seam itself. But you want enough there so that when you turn this, there's some flexibility for that to overlap instead of bunching up underneath. And then you'll turn it. Now this is optional. I've done this both ways, but technically the pattern that I got puts a seam, just a top stitching seam. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up for you. It's just a tiny little seam that flattens this out back here basically. And I did the same thing. You can see it a little better on this one because of the color of the thread. I just top stitched it down. Now you want to stitch them in opposite directions if you're going to do the top stitching, okay? So you put these together, your seams are laying in the opposite direction, okay? So just a tip there. And this little thing, you're going to sew the two ends. You want to fold those over and just put a quick seam down the ends, and then fold it over wrong sides together. And what I did was put a quick little stitch down here just to hold it, but you could pin it if you want, and then fold it to find your halfway mark and put it on the seam on the lining. And then you want to just stitch that down really quickly. Now we can look at this one. Okay, you're going to stitch it down just to hold it in place, and then stitch the bottom as well. That's created a little channel there that we'll be able to put the pipe cleaner in. See, it'll just slide right through. And then it can also be taken out when you wash it if you want. Otherwise, you can leave it in. It doesn't really matter. Okay, after you get to this point, you want to sew the sides here inward. Okay, both sides of the lining, and the same on the outer shell. You want to stitch that down. Now a tip, if you're going to be using ties versus elastic, I would make that a little bit wider so that you could feed your string through, or your tie, whatever you're going to use. And then you're going to, of course, cut it to the desired length, probably about 24 inches, not the ends, so that when it goes through the wash, it can't slide through. But you do that on both sides of this piece. Okay, now we want to put these together. Now what I'm going to do is mark the center with a pin. I've been sewing for years, but on things like this I do still need to pin that. I'm going to pull the sewing machine forward a little. And you'll see the lining is a little bit smaller. That's what we want. Now you're going to start here on the upper edge. Take a couple of stitches and then back stitch. We're going to go all the way around to the other end. We're not going to go down the sides, just across the top. Now we want to go down and close the bottom the same way. Again, leaving the sides open. Okay, so the top and bottom are closed. Now we want to turn it. So go in from one side and just turn the mask right side out. Once you have it turned, you're going to want to come in and do a tight little top stitch all across. Now again, you don't have to, but believe me, when you wash this, it's going to make it much easier because it's not going to want to roll on you, okay? So let's just go ahead and top stitch that. Now at this point, you have two options. You can leave both ends open so that when you put your filter in, you know, it has a place to go inside. I usually close up one end. You really just need one end open to be able to slide it in. So what I do is on this end, I'm going to go ahead and put my elastic down inside. Now I'm going to close it right here. So I want to make sure that elastic is down far enough that I'm catching it in my seam. Okay, so I've got it in there. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. Making sure there's plenty in there where I can feel it down here. And just sew a straight seam down and then backstitch it. This end is going to be the same, except we're going to leave this open. So when I go in with my elastic, instead of sewing on top of the lining, I'm just going to be sewing over here on the front piece. You can go all the way across if you want a decorative seam, but all I'm going to do is go across the elastic, back stitch, and across the elastic again. Just enough to hold it. Okay, so we've got our completed mask, and I'll grab the pipe cleaner again. So it's fitted a little bit to your face anyway, but if you put the pipe cleaner in, let's just fold this. Well, this one's kind of long, I'll leave it. Fold that over so the wire's not catching on your material, and it will just slide right in. You can use whatever wire you have at your home. I'm a crafter, so I had pipe cleaners. Okay. But that does allow you to get a more customized, tighter, snug fit there. Okay. So guys, if you don't have any mask at all, I hope you will take some of your extra material at home and go ahead and make something. If you go to the Center for Disease Control's website, they have multiple masks there. They have one you can sew with the pleats. They also have one that you can cut up a t-shirt. It's a no sew at all. They also have one where you fold a bandana. All of those you could just slide the coffee filter inside to give you just a little bit more added protection. But as another reminder, this is not going to prevent any virus because cotton is porous. So it's going to allow things to come through. The best thing you can do is the social distancing. And if you have a mask, it can't hurt to wear it. It's better than no protection at all. And then another tip, I was watching a health official giving some tips on sanitizing your home. And there's a lot of places that you forget about. You know, you do your countertops, your doorknobs, your bathroom. But he said not to forget the other little things, you know, like take your damp cloth and wipe off your remote control, the doorknobs, or the knobs to your dresser and your chest of drawers, things like that. Go to your car, sanitize the door handles. Even when you get inside, you know, you reach and pull your door closed. Anything you're touching, your seat belt fastener, your gear shift, you know, anything like that. It doesn't take but a few minutes to just give it a swipe, and better safe than sorry again. So I hope you guys are being safe, and I'll see you next week. Take care.